take a look at the curves, the flow everywhere. Hi, I'm Miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. It's a warm day, very hot and sunny. And today we work on 3 Cascade elm trees. This one we cut up in February, around February, to essentially nothing. That's how much it's grown since February to middle of July. This one I happen to have around, and I show you how I study a tree to decide what to do with it. And then this is an elm, cork elm actually, that I started probably 15 years ago in the ground, and I put it in a bonsai pot maybe a year and a half ago. We will show you a few examples of what the range of Cascade can be. We will talk about Cascade Bonsai and the reasoning behind the design. And so to start with, I'll show you several examples of a Cascade design. This is probably one of the most dramatic you will ever come across. It was an upright tree. This tree is probably growing like this. And when I bought it, it was full of leaves, full of needles. And the person really didn't know what to do with it. And I played with it, and I finally saw this line, and I made it into a cascade. And I think it will become one of the most incredible cascade. And this will fill up. Just imagine in a year, this will be quite full. And in 5 years, this will be a fantastic bonsai. But take a look at the curves, the flow everywhere. This is an old tree. That's one of my first trees I work on about 45 years ago. Start with a 15-gallon can, and I try to make it less standard, a kind of a straight line going out, going down for that matter. So you can see it's a really powerful line. And I also did not clean up the bark. I like it to show the natural aging process rather than make it all shiny and red and so forth, and paint the dead wood. So anyway, this is one of my favorites, and I think it got tremendously good review at a recent show. Okay, these are 2 examples of elm. And this one, a sagel elm with very small leaves. And this sagel elm is very brittle. So it does not lend itself to wiring because it will break every time you try to wire it. So, but using the clip and grow method, I can easily transform it. And the wonderful thing about this tree is that it's a very, very small leaves. I think it came from Hokkaido area, a mutation. This tree is really interesting. This is a Catlin elm. A couple of things I want to demonstrate. You can see this is a natural root that I pull out of a tall pot and gradually work on it, and that's what it looks like. And this is actually an orchid pot, which is fine for this purpose. You can see it's got a lot of flow and a lot of energy. And I just pruned these for this demonstration. So anyway, that's another form of cascade, which is really coming down. So when you said and done, what is a cascade bonsai? Basically, you imagine you're going to a hill where there's a cliff where trees are growing out of the mountain. And in some cases, the tree flopped over and then it grew up again. So it can be a variety of shape, but you're able to explain it, how it grew in a cliff, and to follow the rule of nature in terms of how its growth habits. So like this one will be very unusual, but I'm not sure I can explain it, but you can see it gives you a very good feeling that it's hanging over a cliff. Okay, now let's go look at the other one. This bonsai I showed many times, including in a recent bonsai show, and I refer to it as a elm, Chinese elm punjin, which means a scenery. And this is actually an abstraction of that I created after I visited Huangshan, where the trees, pine trees actually, grew out of the mountain. That's one of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in essence, these are actually two cascade trees. You can almost imagine these trees grew out of a rock. And that, in fact, is the genesis of Cascade Bonsai, that you try to imagine in a pot, a bonsai grow out of a rock or grow out of a side of a cliff. And you try to describe that to bring that to your closer to home. So with that in mind, then, we will go to creating working on the two Cascade Bonsai for the main topic of this video. With that in mind, let's get to work. So I will first work on this tree and show you the thought process behind creating this cascade tree. You can see it grown a lot and stuck in a pot quite well. And I didn't use much else, but with a little bit of a compost added to my sandy loam. And you can see the original roots is here, and I tried to make it root out here, and it didn't quite work, just started rooting out. So I'll probably put it back to bury the tree here so that these will become the roots, and I ultimately cut this off. So now look at this tree. How do I make this into a cascade? So first of all, the tree usually like to be slanted on the side of a mountain it grew out. And so you need an apex, and then as well as a branch that grows out this way. So with that in mind, then, I'll probably do the following. I will probably make this one the apex. When these roots grow out, I'll cut this off, make this the bottom, and then this will grow out into another tree. Look at how much trunk that size already is. And this will be that size in about 6 months. So now for a cascade tree, I need to be tilted. So this will be what I use, but you can see this branch will be perfect for the cascade. I can push this down to go sidewards, and then I don't want these to be right on top of it, so this will probably be the apex branch. So with that in mind, then I just get to work and cut them off. Yeah, this will be okay. This is a good branch. Now I have this tree growing on the side, and this branch going up, that's going to be my apex. And then this tree, you see how this branch comes out and did a jog, which is perfect for the cascade. And I probably cut it off about here, and then I can play with it to make it quite long. And then this one, I'll let it grow so that it will thicken to become the apex. That's the top, that's one growing on the side, and most of these can go. If you visualize this tree grow up to here, and then start to branch out here, and then this goes down, that's a perfect cascade. And just to make my point, I'd rather save this actually to let it grow thick, so this branch will be thick to look more like the apex. You can see I may pull this down or wire a little bit or break it here so that it will drag down. You see this breakage was fine. This breakage, because that allows it to be kind of go at this right angle. So that's a cascade. So you can imagine this part grows up to be a tree like this, right? And this comes out like that, and that's a cascade. I will save this branch so that it will thicken faster rather than cut it off now. So you have to be patient. So in 5 minutes, I transformed this weird-looking tree into a cascade. No, I'm just now going to put it back in the pot, and I have to fit it in a way that it's a cascade. So I'm getting rid of some soil and put it back in. You see, the trees, especially like elm, deciduous trees, so long as you keep a lot of roots, you can work on it almost any time of the year, although generally it's believed to work on it during the winter months. But you can actually do a lot during the summer months as well, because you don't sit still waiting for the winter. There's so much fiber roots you really aren't going to even kill the tree if you want to. The belief is generally is to work on a tree during the dormant months, which is winter and in a late fall and it's early spring. But in reality, you can do a lot so long as you have the fibrous roots to compensate for the, cut off the leaves to compensate for the loss of the fibrous roots. But in this case, you can see there's so much fibrous roots, you can't even kill the tree, honestly. So now I'm going to put it back in the pot to retain the shape, the design of the cascade. I try to get there to the corner of the pot because the cascade wants to be kind of sticking up. So now this is the new orientation of this tree. So you can see this is the trunk going sideways, and this is the apex going up, and then this is the one that goes down. And this tree, I would say it's about 5 years old from a seed. And this one is 15 years old, maybe 20, from a cutting that I grew in the ground. And so you want this to thicken, so you want to let this grow to thicken. Of course, I'm not going to, in this case, put it back in the ground, but if I fertilize it well, it will grow pretty quickly. I would say in 10 years to be this size. And then you have a really, really nice bonsai started from the very beginning. So that's the process of making a bonsai. And I will work on the next tree. When I was looking for a tree, an elm tree, to demonstrate the cascade, I came across this little guy, and it's also a cork elm, which is really a nice material because it becomes very corky as it gets older. And it's not quite designed to start as a cascade, but I thought I'd show you the thought process to decide what to do with a tree. So in fact, let me do upside down. Look at this tree. You know, when I look at it, what do I do with it? When I took this tree out of the pot, I look at it and I'm saying, what do I do with it? And the process generally is to turn around and look at it from various angles and choose one that has the best opportunity. I can, for example, make this the apex. I think this would be a nice tree. And with this is a kind of an extracted branch going sideways, I think that would look nice. And that could be a very nice shohin. And this root would complement this trunk. And this goes down nicely. And an alternative is to make this into a cascade. You can see this goes down, entirely will thicken. And this one, I have to figure out how to make it so it doesn't go quite that far back. Maybe I tilt it a little bit more so that this would be an exaggerated cascade going this way. So since we're doing a cascade, let me turn this into a cascade tree. Again, you want to think things flow in a certain way. I think to make this tree go this way, it's really going to be difficult. Yeah, it has to be very exaggerated. So this one goes up instead of going backwards to rhyme with this. And I shouldn't let this be going too far back. Since I really think this would be a nice tree this way, but since I'm trying to make my point about a cascade, this is the story I would tell. Here's a nice tree growing on the side of a mountain, and there's a landslide, and it's now going this way. So that's the roots grabbing the soil, and then this tree is trying to go up, and that branch is trying to go down. So that is the story I would tell. With that in mind, then I just clip away. Okay, so here's another cascade. And see what happens, and we'll readjust it next time. And this can go into a little pot like this size, and it's going to be quite a nice cascade. In fact, I think this is a little bit too exaggerated, so I'll cut it off. and this will grow out and so forth. So that's my tree, a little curve here. So it would be fine. Again, you adjust it until it's right. It's never right the first time, but in a sense, it's not possible to have all the features in the first time, but you gradually add to it by so-called subtractive and additive design, manufacturing. So this pot was given to me by Jane, one of the bonsai members, when I gave her a maple bonsai. And so this is not quite a pot, but it could be a pot that I use. You can see this is could be quite a nice shohin bonsai instantly. You see the little curve here? It goes up and then comes down. Well, this is the third tree we'll do today on this video. In this video, I'll clean up this old Cascade. This, I think, is more the front because you can see the nice curve. And I will clean up this so that it will look like a decent tree. The way it is now, it has two apex, which is fine, but I need to fine-tune it a little bit. I will try to clean up this tree to show you roughly what I would do typically before a trade show, a bonsai show, maybe do it 6 to 8 weeks before the show so that the trees would get back to nice. You can see I used a little bit of wire, guy wire, to position the branch without really tying it down much. And it doesn't take very long before it stays put. And these roots are sticking out. I don't need to worry too much about it at this point. But someday I will clean up and move the tree up a little bit to expose the roots below, like this one here. You can see it's very nice roots. So you have to play with the roots fairly early on in the game. So now when you work on a tree, I think you should probably work on the apex first, and then everything can support it. And so I think this branch can become the apex, and then these branches coming down. And this one looks like also is trying to be an apex. And I think it's okay when you have two apex, but maybe that one need to be more going that way. So I will leave this one alone to let it grow tall, to thicken, and then cut off the bottom to accentuate the top. So I will show you in about 3 weeks how the tree would have grown back to with some foliage to begin to look like a tree again. I let this branch to go this way, this branch to go that way, and so that's the top. You see how it grows up this way, and this comes down. And these goes to the side. Don't worry about the thickness is not right. It will thicken to balance off where it wants to be, where it's supposed to, how thick it is supposed at that particular location. Eventually, if you just keep after it. I have to decide whether I let this branch grow or not. But I think I'll just leave it a chance to, just in case it will fill out the hole nicely, so I leave it alone, let it grow out. In the meantime, try to clean out these branches and try to follow the flow so it's not like something sticking back against the flow. I left a little bit of a green so that it may grow a back branch. So you try to accentuate the feature of the particular branch with the curves it has, and then cut off the ones that are kind of de-emphasize the curve. You know, sometimes less is more, right? Because if you let something else, it distracts the basic design. Well, this branch is a little weird because it's under the big branch, so I would cut it off to make it, or go out this way to fill that hole. So if that's the case, I cut off this side to accentuate, to encourage the growth more to the other side, rather than kind of shows us directly under the big branch. I have another elm that looks almost like this. I can do it another time to give you another case study of what I do to turn it into a more mature looking bonsai. Well, you know, nature is competitive. This one is trying to be as tall as this one. I make it a little bit less tall by cutting off right here. It looks a little bit lopsided, but it will come out to balance off so that two trees don't compete equally. I think it's more asymmetry tend to be more artistic. What I'm doing is to clean off all the redundant growth. On the other hand, I think maybe a branch coming out of here could be interesting. So I will now save this little branch just in case it may turn into something. And I can determine later on if I keep it or not keeping it. And just like this one, I will let it grow back to provide a little bit more of a spread. Whereas the other ones are clean off to make the trunk look old, because the old trunk generally don't have little twigs growing out of it. So now I have to decide, I think this is probably a good branch to go this angle. So I cut off this. Even though it's not very thick, you ignore the thickness at this point because it will thicken. What's most important is the location. So this branch will come out this way, then I can cut it this way to cover this hole and to make it more full in the long run. So even this old tree is work in progress. As you work on it gradually, you see the possibility, and it improves time again and again over time. It becomes very nice. Like this one, this branch is sticking out. You really don't want the tree to stick out too much. So you try to find a branch that's going this way. So I say this is a branch that's going that way. So I cut it off right here. So this branch will come out and eventually fill out this hole. And this one will come out and fill out this hole. So even though the trunk is not the right thickness, in a sense the branch is not the right thickness, it will eventually thicken to serve your purpose. So you have to give it opportunity, don't cut off too much, even though I appear to be doing that, but that's part of the subtractive and then additive manufacturing process that I'm deploying. Like this one, I'm not sure I need it because this branch is going that way. I don't need another one coming out. So I think I actually cut it off. So you kind of have to make decisions. It's not right decision or right decision, but it's a decision so that eventually it'll be right. You see all these little stubs, eventually you can clean it off quite easily because they will become very brittle. After you cut it, the new growth popping out everywhere, and you let it grow to a certain length, and it's quite easy to plug them off instead of having to clip them off and they come out again. Pulling off seemed like a little bit easier, more permanent solution. And it's fast. So I'm cleaning it up, the branches to look age. Like this one, it's almost the apex and can't come out. So I would do that. of this will come out this way to make this cascade a little bit longer. So this is basically it. That's it. I'm done. It looks very bare, but it will fill up in 5 weeks. So this is a 15 to 20-year-old cork elm, I think called the Davidiana. And the idea is the tree is, there's a shift in the ground, the tree hover over the side of a mountain and it grew out. And right now this is touching the pot. In my mind, it's not very desirable. So the next move is that in the wintertime probably, I'll move the tree out of the pot a little bit, raise it, so it exposes more of the roots to make it more interesting. In the meantime, what I did is I clean off all of the redundant branches coming out of the tree, because old trees don't grow these little branches, they died off. And at the same time, I save a few small branches to expand, to grow up, to fill the voids that I want to fill, to make the tree look more healthy and more growth. I think that's what I would do. It looks very bare at this point, but really in 2 months or 4 to 5 weeks, all these will be totally green, and in about 3 months I have to reclip it again. I also left all these roots alone for now because they are just fine, and when I move it up, I'll cut them off and expose the roots to look at more like grasping the earth. So this is it for this bonsai. Thank you very much. If you like our video, I like the encouragement, and give us comments so that we know how to improve our video and address what you'd like to know. And please subscribe to our channel so that we can notify you of any new video. So thank you very much, and see you again next week.